Yeah, I mean,
The
jeez.
option has been ripped from you.
Oh.
Stand up for your lack of freedom now. Uh,
Oh.
So another normal day.
pretty much. All right, let's get this show on the road. All right, then I need to
Oh.
change up. I didn't update the episode marker. So, yep. Is anyone watching, whether you're catching this live or watching run later? This is episode 50 of Casting Shadows. Woo, 50, yay. Anyway, uh, so
And we're still putting on a show like this.
yep, hasn't improved one bit. You'd think we know what we're doing at this point.
Maybe even 2 bits.
2 bits. We have 5 bits between us, at best.
No.
So Star Citizen, as per freaking usual, because that's like the go-to main source of everything we do. Fun Luminalia fact, given that it's all Luminalia holiday season thing. Star Citizen's pretty much Star Citizen Christmas, except more accurately, Alien Space Hanukkah. Just lore-wise, Luminalia is like the Banu, they light a oil lamp like the menorah or Hanukkah, and they light and they call it, what's it, the glowing festival or the glow festival, like festival of lights, like Hanukkah. So it's pretty much alien space Hanukkah, and it's involving presents and the fun little thing that the Banu do and the humans do together, and yeah, just neat little lore stuff there.
Who?
Who?
Who are we banning?
You.
Hammer.
We're banning you. But yeah, so also as part of the Luminalia stuff, every day, there is a new gift on the website.
We've gotten what, like 3.
I'm gonna get it onto the
I'm
screen.
sorry, wallpapers.
Yeah, the wallpapers
we got a
are questionable.
Sneak peek of the new bike, which okay.
Let me see if I can get
3
the
Spectrum badges.
here
We got
we
an
are.
ugly sweater, and today we got a knife. So hey, something that's actually fun.
Knife is pretty much the best thing we've gotten so far. So we got, I think today's the last. No, we got 2 more days. So today is 10, and then we got 2 more days afterwards. Where are they? Here they are. So first thing was the sweater, which it's Christmas sweater.
Ugly Christmas sweater. Sure,
yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was great. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Spectrum badge, cool. Makes sense. I remember Cam was telling you, like, a poster, a PNG, I can just rip this from right here, like, bam. I now have this image without having you give it to me for free. I assume that's supposed to be a whatchamface skin for the Mustang. It is a paint job. Okay, good. So that's a plus. Paint jobs are good. I'm fine with that. Another paint job for Caterpillar. Day 6. What the hell is it? Oh, sneak peek. Okay, so this is what the new bike, or I'm assuming it's a bike, is.
It's a screenshot of the new bike that they're gonna sell to us when 316 drops.
Yeah, that's something that you just put on freaking Comlink for like or Spectrum, and that's it. Like this isn't like great. Now I have an image of a handlebar essentially.
Yeah, I've got an image. It's a sneak peek of something you want to sell me. Okay.
I
get it.
Yeah.
Like, COG is a company. They want to make money at the end of the day, but like
this isn't even money. This is all free.
well, yeah, but it's to.
Oh, it's like using it as a commercial for the new product.
Yeah, it's to build hype up to then make money.
Son, you want to get on your box and start ranting about the marketing, because I might.
It's marketing.
Yeah.
I actually just ignore this whole Luminalia thing because to me it's all just marketing.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much like Christmas in America.
I'm gonna jump on my soapbox here for a minute.
Go ahead.
And rant about how the Luminalia gifts in game, which has been a thing for several years now.
Here these things.
How they reduced the amount that the presents are worth after a couple of streamers were going like, oh, I made a couple million by spending several hours grinding them out. And so they were worth 1,000. Now they're worth,
which is normal.
250.
They've always been worth 1,000 every year they're
Yeah,
in.
they've always been worth 1,000. So it's not like they increased them and they done like decreased them. They've always been worth. And on that note, they were worth 1,000 when we were getting mission payouts that were in like the hundreds of AUEC and not in the normally thousands we're talking about now. If anything, given how the economy has gone in game, we should be getting more, or at least the same, just because, especially too, we're actually losing our equipment now. Like, we have a reason to have a lot of small purchases now.
Hey Cam, here's another ammunition belt.
Reload.
And they just did a massive wipe of everyone's accounts, so why do this now?
They did a massive wipe of everyone's accounts, and on top of that, the well-documented fact that most missions, even in PTU, like not even in the live build, but even in PTU, are still broken. Bunker missions, bounty hunter missions,
and we should elaborate by, for those who don't know.
None of it's working well.
So by broken we mean like FPS missions when you try like okay, the 890 jump mission, right? You go to the 890 jump that's been boarded, you have to board it yourself and kill all the pirates on board.
Just people won't.
There's supposed to be 20 pirates, but the last guy some reason does not spawn in. And you can't complete it because of that.
This is across the board.
Yeah, a lot of missions have this issue.
On top of that, and again, so it's like this would be a great time where it's like, oh hey, sweet, you can go and boost your inventory a bit by, hey, I can find a couple of presents, I can buy that armor I've been wanting, because every time I'm dying, I trip over my own feet somehow and die. My ship ramp flips out and kills me. NPC goes and tanks my entire 2 mags, turns around and insta kills me because of desync, and I'm losing gear every single time. This is the perfect time to go and be like, oh sweet, I can boost my credits a bit. I can buy those armors I was wanting. Nope, sorry. It's just like, really? This is just kind of insult to injury at this point. Because it's a small thing to bitch about, but I will bitch about it.
Yep, Luminalia marketing.
Rant over.
Yep. So yeah, and these are the presents, and yeah, you can collect them. They should be 1,000 at least, honestly. Because right now they nerfed it to 250 from 1,000. So not great.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about the people making like millions. The highest I heard was 70,000. I'm not saying it's not out there, but it.
Well, you can easily find over 100 at
Grimhacks alone. It was supposed to be a response to, oh, people are earning too much money from that. It's like,
yeah,
well, the regular missions sure ain't fucking working.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's really the only reliable source of income in game right now.
And to be honest, I'm kind of at the point where like they keep giving us these tiny little things like knives and patches for or icons for going over to their subreddit pages and stuff, and
yeah, wasn't it like why are we getting 2 icons?
It's okay, but it's getting to the point where it's like, you have 25 different knives. Like, what's the point?
Well, I mean, and it's like variety is good, but at the same time, variety is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Having 25 knives that are all just a different shade of color, like
exactly.
Make them worth something.
I will say this though, I'm not a fan of the ship specific skins. I'd rather if they just here's the X skin, but it's applicable to all ships.
Yeah,
but I think that's tied to how their current paint job system in game works. But I'm still not a fan. That like, okay, if you want to give me what the hell is it called, the ice break paint.
Yeah, ice break.
Like just have ice break paint. And then you go to more info and just lists applicable to all ships or something, Yeah,
and even if it was just a simple color swap kind of thing, okay.
Yeah.
Make it nice and easy for your developers to go and or artists or whoever to go and incorporate that. Sure, but yeah, make it so it's every single ship, or like, and I did like that. It was like, okay, hey, we're putting on the starters, cool, okay, and the caterpillar. Oh, okay, it is a fan favorite, sure, but it's just kind of like, who chooses what ship and what makes it that ship better than this other, that kind of shit.
A variation that I think would be kind of cool on this level, where like it doesn't really mean anything, but it'd be worth giving away. What about doing interiors? In other words, like
colored interiors.
Maybe all your seat covers are now leather backed, and nothing major, just minor little accent touches. Or Christmassy, like you got little dashboard Christmas running lights or something. I don't know, but just something tiny and small that's just a little thing on the ship interiors, because we know they can do the exteriors, but we have yet to see them do anything with the interiors.
No, we've seen them do some of the interior stuff. We've seen them do interior stuff with the 300 series.
That's it.
But that's
you had to buy that ship in order to do that.
Right. Yes. I'm just saying that we've seen it before. We haven't really seen it be utilized more.
Do it, though, out as like, hey, to the community, like, hey, do this, and we'll give you a different interior.
Yeah. Also,
hey, ship skins.
We need more of that customization option. I just think like, hey, give me the. Like, I love that they're giving us paint, like these unique paints, but don't make it for specific ships. Make it for across the board every ship. Like you have two different paints here, right? We got the Icebreak, this blue and white, and then we've got the hull, which is like this green with a red stripe. Like these should be applicable to all ships, not just the ones pictured. And today we got a knife, which was actually pretty cool. It looks like a Banu knife, and that fits the holiday theme, the in-universe holiday theme. But yeah, I'm not like, some of them are great. Like the knife is good. The paint job, it's like great idea, but just it needs to be executed better. And then like, why with the wallpapers? Why?
I mean, they needed something to throw in there.
Yeah.
Really.
Clearly. But yeah, that's the Luminalia stuff.
I'm fine with the wallpapers, really, just because it's like, they're gonna do 12 items. Okay, how much time can the devs really spend out of their normal out of their normal tasks here to go build this shit? It's like, okay, sure, we're probably not going to get some super high speed armor or helmet or backpack.
No, I wasn't expecting as much. But the second I saw the first two items, I guess I was expecting something along those lines. In like maybe one, like an in-game item, and then something like on Spectrum, but like things that are usable. Like even the freaking Spectrum badge is usable, and I would say
true.
You know what I mean? I'm not super huge on let's have two of them with minor differences.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a different design on this one, but it's like.
I mean,
I personally think they're absolutely pointless, but that's just.
I agree they are.
At the same point,
but I am glad that they do at least make a attempt, even if it's not a great one, to.
For God's sakes, please don't say it's the thought that counts.
Because it's like when they stop doing that kind of stuff, when they're like, why the fuck would we care what the player base is doing? Fuck them, kind of thing. Then we've totally lost base with them, and they with us.
True.
So I mean, I'd rather have something that's well intended but badly executed than just nothing at all, or stuff that's literally. It's like the fucking handlebar from the hover bike. It's pure fucking marketing, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like if it was all that kind of stuff, you'd be like, really.
I think that's the problem. It's kind of like you have stuff that are really good, and stuff that aren't like that. Like, well, you question why they're even in this little pack thing. It's like, whatever. So that's the Luminalia stuff. Luminalia, whatever. So you got the gifts that you can find in game. You got the presents that you can deliver through delivery missions. There's the Easter egg, which we need to go to in game, so I can take that screenshot. And
I mean, it's always there.
Yes, but I can't go with multiple people on my own. And there's also we should mention the discounted starter packs. This way you can get the game for $5 less than normal. Remember when the discounted starter packs were $10 less instead of $5? I bought my brother's
$45 for everything.
No, yeah, but I bought my brother's account, the game package for him for $35 instead of $40. But anyway, that was back years ago now. Yeah, so Luminalia means there's a sale and stuff like that going as well. So that's it. Like actual sales, reduced prices here, saves 10%. It is what it is. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit about Alpha 3.16 PTU. Has anyone here actually played the PTU?
Nope.
I have not. All right. Well, I have the patch notes. Pretty much, we talked a little bit about it last week. Gravlev rework. I like Gravlev vehicles like the Dragonfly speeder bike and Nox, and whatever the hell this new one will be. They got reworked, heavily revamped, and upgraded. Include major updates to the physical model, stability improvements, and new features like tilting and adjustable height. Law system improvements such as reduced acquisition of low-level crime stats, displaying a victim's name in infraction notifications, replaced a trespass zone around prisons, and locking a missile will now render the ship as hostile, which we talked about last week as well. We went to a whole thing about what should have you register as a hostile versus.
Yep.
And obviously we got atmospheric bounties as well, which means now dogfight in atmosphere, which sounds like why is that not already in as a no-brainer? But the reason is flying in atmosphere is a lot different than space because the flight model changed. Because now you have wind resistance, and gravity. So
not that
one constant in the universe. Also, we got let's see. One of the PTU patches from last week was the addition of Area 18 in the 3.16. So Area 18, our corp now has a hospital. It's not going to be relying on the orbital station. The Dying Star update for the Arena Commander map, Dying Star, is now getting visually overhauled. So larger size, more cover, playable areas. Jumptown polish for the Jumptown 2.0 event, which I believe is going on right now in the PTU, and eventually will start happening in the live build when that goes live, whenever that is. Probably within the next 4 days, honestly.
Yep. I mean, they're very likely to push it before Christmas. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, it pretty much the Q4 patch pretty much always comes out December 24th. So. But the Jumptown 2.0 fixes increased payouts, fixed issues and crashes, and added expiry warnings, changes to payouts mechanics to the lawful and lawless mission contracts, because there's two missions. There's the lawful one, the illegal ones. Ares Ion balance pass, so they tweaked the Ares Ion weapon to have a higher RPM with more DPS and made aim adjustments. Steamer turret velocity adjustments.
The community has by and large bitched about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really tired of that. It's just these are people, pardon my French, but displaying their own stupidity, because they're basically, to give it a real world equivalent, they're complaining that their A-10 Warthog isn't an F-15 Eagle dogfighter, and it's just.
Which, come on, we all love the F-15.
I would say there's a few camps of it. Some of them are absolutely. They're sitting there going, "Man, I could kill anything with this." Suddenly, hey, whoa! How come I can only really do the specified role as opposed to just in everything here? What the fuck? Absolutely, there's some people there. Some of them really they were just like, hey, it's changed. I don't really like the change. Not even necessarily that it was OP or not, just it was this, now it's not this, don't like.
Even though it was literally just implemented and it was the first time in game.
that's, to me, again, that's also saying, hey, I didn't pay attention to what I bought. Now I don't like it because
Absolutely.
it's not acting like, the
What
dog
I
fighter I
expected.
thought it was. Yeah.
Honestly, I like
Well,
that it had
another
a slower rate of fire, but I
part of
think
the
it
problem
does need
too.
more damage. But that's just because I'm looking at it as this is the A10 Warthog, right? Specifically the
Yeah.
Ion variant, which is the laser variant. It's supposed to be like an A10 Warthog. That means give me the firepower and the damage, but don't give me the rate of fire because then it just becomes too overpowered.
Or the maneuverability.
That's
the
another
other
thing.
big
I
issue that
like that it
people are
doesn't
not-
have, or at least in the live build in 315, it doesn't have the maneuverability. It's a relatively slower ship, even for its size.
Should be, because it's
Right.
right. Go after bigger targets. It should not be flipping on a dime and acting like a fighter. Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
it's not a
Yeah,
dogfighter.
to
Just
me,
like
that's
the
where I
A10
just-
Warthog is not a dogfighter. It's a support craft.
Yeah.
Well, the one caveat out of or the one, I guess gimme all out of the community is that, because a lot of people are associating it as the A10, and for the past, the A10 was designed to go kill Soviet tanks in Germany if if we went to war in the Cold War. But then it never actually got to do that mission. So the only thing that anyone's ever actually seen the A10 do is flying over the Middle East and wiping shit out. But that meant that we had air superiority and you didn't have to escort those things because we had control of the air. So everyone's concept of the A10 is, oh, it just flies around and fucks shit up.
Even by that logic, okay, so that means it's it's your perfect air to ground support.
Like honestly, it's an infantry support. Like
yeah,
the way you use it, it's an infantry support.
It's an anti-infantry gun or anti-infantry vehicle. Yeah.
It's like, hey, we didn't bring anything that can hit heavy armor or hit heavily dug in positions. All right, calling the A10. Brr. Okay, cool. Yeah. And now the infantry goes in. Like literally, it is used currently as infantry support. That's it. And I see no reason why it should not have a similar role. I mean, you could call it, I guess, fighter support. But it's like, oh, hey, there's a hammerhead. All the fighters, shit! Ion comes in. All right, let's go wreck the. You got two of those. Make a couple passes on that hammerhead, unless they're super great on that thing. You might now, depending on all the pilot skill involved and all that kind of shit. Your ions might go down. It's entirely possible, but.
Well, I mean, to me, the other factor is if you don't have that fighter support, then guess what? You might actually lose those
Bingo.
The ion, because guess what? It's not as nimble. It can't dogfight, so it needs to run away. Like,
and
you
so
didn't
if you
run
got
away,
the fighters,
guess what?
Yeah. Now that being said, too, I will say it has been proven time and time again from CIG that a ship comes out, and by and large, it's the best thing since sliced bread in terms of like stats, in terms of what it can do, generally speaking. And then next patch, it gets nerfed. By which, we say, oh, nerf, but really we mean it's getting balanced into everything else.
Yep.
Because everything needs to be, even though yes, it's an alpha, yes, overall like end game balance is not in yet. However, we still want to make it to where if you had, for example, the Retaliator just would go through and just swamp everything no matter what it was, no one would ever be using anything other than the Retaliator, and that doesn't get you good data. Everything needs to be somewhat roughly in its assigned box here so that moving forward they can kind of refine everything down. And it makes a lot easier in the future to refine everything down if everything's approximately around what you were expecting here. But that means that people who, like you were saying, were like, I can kill anything in this, are suddenly like, well, what do you mean I'm not the OP everything here now? And it's like, what were you expecting? Really?
Yeah. It's the community just needs to sit back, take a deep breath.
No, I
Wait.
refuse.
I guess no one ever thought of.
You shouldn't comment on it until at least like the third patch after you have it, because
Right.
then you start getting an idea of what its intent is going to be in the game.
Like for instance, the inventory medical gameplay right now, they're literally tier 0. Like we know everything that's in it. It as it is right now is not going to be as it will be. So.
Well, the other thing is you shouldn't believe anything when it comes to the marketing when they're selling the ship.
Yeah, you should just don't believe the marketing. Period.
Just don't read it. Like if you're interested in the ship and it really just speaks to you by itself, and you got the money to do it, then yeah, go for it. Or you just really want to support the game, go for it. But if you don't match any of those previous criteria, then just sit back, relax, wait a couple months, and then if it's still talking to you, then start looking at what people are experiencing with the actual released model in the game to see whether or not it's what you want. But just walking in blind, reading the marketing and then buying it and then complaining about it, that's a waste of everyone's time.
Agreed.
Put my box away.
Yeah, and also, and this goes back to what we were saying a few weeks ago. Like, I personally don't think that CIG should be selling concept ships anymore. Like if it's until you have a feasible in-game model, that's when only then you should sell it.
And since we're on the topic of ships, we should probably put in here the Cutlass Steel.
Oh yeah, totally should have been just a module for the Cutlass Black.
Yeah, I mean
that's my. I think it should have been a module.
We will see it in the far future, but right now.
Oh, they can. Here's the thing: they can totally turn it into a module later.
Yeah.
Like at least that's kind of the beauty of it. Like how simple it is that can easily just be a module, or not fully. Like maybe you don't get the module for the Cutlass Black doesn't give you that rear turret, the remote one. But it gives you the jump seats in the cargo hold and the guns on the door.
Well, what I could see them doing that would really make sense in game is if you have a Cutlass Black, you take it to Cousin Crows and you tell them, "Hey, I want the steel modification," and then basically in game they put all the pieces and parts on there, but it's not a module that you can like just take on or off. In other words. Now you fly it away. It's the steel. Now, if you want your original Cutlass back, you're gonna have to take it back there, and you're gonna have to pay money.
Well, that's the thing with the modules as well. Is the modules you can't just swap out anywhere whenever you want. Like you have to take it to a shop to be able to swap it out.
But the modules imply that you're going to be able to keep that module like in your hangar and swap them out. And I'm saying this would be a version that it's not a module, so it's not like it takes up space in your hangar. But you could go and pay money to get that upgrade kit, applied to your ship.
I like.
So in other words, not a module, just attachments. Just attachments.
One thing too is that it should take some amount of in-game dates. Like, okay, hey, you put your Cutlass Black in. Like, hey, I'd like the steel package applied to this. Sure, that's going to cost you 50,000, and we'll be done with it in 4 real-time days. Cool, I'll be back then. Off you go to do whatever. You come back in 4 days. Cool. Here is your Cutlass Steel, and then same kind of thing. Hey, I want to go back to the Cutlass Black. They're like, okay, hey, it's gonna cost, maybe now it'll cost you 25,000 or 20,000 or something like that. Still gonna take about 4 days or so. I really like that idea. I really hope we get something like that.
I hope so too, because honestly, again, options are a gamer's best friend. So, and I like the idea of also like here's attachments, this new system, and like you can just add, essentially just a bunch of accessories to your ship, and they can be weapons, they can be freaking even just visual, like.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, no, I really like.
Aside from
now,
what it should be though, aside from what the Cutlass Steel should be, because again, I still feel it should have been either exactly what you described, call sign or module, but the ship itself, obviously it's a variant, so they can sell another ship, but the ship itself, I know a lot of people are complaining about, like, oh, it's a poor man's Valkyrie. I like that it's a poor man's Valkyrie. Because, again, it adds variety. And,
Variety is good.
Exactly. Like, it just because we have one ship that's a, dedicated troop transport, doesn't mean we only need one. Like, having more than one adds to the experience. So, especially since this is a Cutlass, this is going to be cheap as hell when you buy it in-game.
If you equate it to the real world, the Valkyrie is your striker, and the Cutlass Steel is your Toyota Hilux full of Durst and
your pickup truck that has a bunch of guys in the back with,
Technical.
Yeah, it's a technical. But yeah, I think the community is somewhat accurate, because it seems to be that the majority seems to be saying, yeah, this thing's like.
I just don't think there's enough structural and functionality differences between the Cutlass Black and Cutlass Steel to essentially justify a new variant versus attachment package or something.
Well, the only sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing though, especially as we're seeing this year, we had some pretty significant changes for some ships in terms of like shields. I think the Constellation series went from two size 2 shields to one size 3. Several other ships got some shield buffs.
Yes.
And I know there's some specific roles they want certain ships to be in, but especially for some of the older ships, by which I mean those that were made pretty much pre 2018, they're really starting to show both their age, and I think a lot of them need they need that gold standard pass, but not just of like cockpit buttons and some VFX here. I'm talking the whole
the Constellation needs
balance of it.
Where
does it actually fit here?
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna have to.
Oh yeah.
Because right now, how the hell do you dock with the Constellation, and how is the crew supposed to survive with no kitchen and stuff?
Go ahead.
No, that was it. Just meant like the lack of a kitchen and quality of life. That was it. Quality of life stuff in the Constellation.
Okay. For me, it's you look at like the Aurora or even like the Mustang series, and none of those were designed with the actual physical components to fit into them, so they don't have the physical base. So I think you're absolutely right, Cam. Those ships are actually going to have to go through a major overhaul just to fit the components that they're supposed to carry, let alone if they go, oh, hey, because components have changed, these ships now need these other components. That's going to be even more work. So, yeah, I do foresee a whole range of early ships going through a major rework.
And I mean, some of that is, of course, just growing pains. It's like this is the old foundation. Now we've grown exponentially from what we had before and what was available, the tech that was available, all that kind of shit. But now we got to go and update the original foundation here. I hope we get that soonish.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we will. Not like soonish, but like in the next couple of years.
I think you might see a trickle, like one a year or something.
One or two here and there, kind of thing. Like the Freelancer.
Look at the changes that they made just between the original Cutlass and the one we have now. I mean, let alone the style changes and everything. They said they cut down like the mapping vertices that actually create the skin of it. It went from like, I want to say it was like 60,000 like vertices, and they said they cut it down to like a third of that with the new design. So just imagine what, and that was already like 3-4 years ago. So imagine what they could make a Bang Stang look like, 5 years from now.
Or a Constellation.
Yeah, and how much it would economize the game so that, you're getting a smoother running performance.
Honestly, I feel like at this point it might almost be beneficial given how much Star Citizen is growing and how the development teams are growing. It might almost be good, and for all I know too, maybe they already have this, and I'm sure this discussion, they've already had this kind of discussion before, but maybe it would be beneficial for them to make a team that, it's just like 4 or 5 people or so. You got like, you got a little bit of everyone there that's just focused on updating the older
Yeah.
ships to newer standards. And I'm not even necessarily saying gold standard, but just to hey, the Aurora needs components. Okay,
Yep.
admittedly, some of this has overlap with the whole gold standard kind of thing. Um, but I'm just talking, things like, hey, this ship functionally cannot do what we need it to do in its current design.
Yeah.
How do we get it into a design that will work without going and completely destroying what makes this ship this ship?
Yeah.
So
And it'd be a streamlined team because you don't need you don't have to go through the art concept variants and all that kind of stuff. This is
yeah,
just, hey, just go in, take the current model. If it needs to grow or shrink a little bit, that's fine. But in general, you just follow the same shape and outline, but just start making things fit in.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like for example with the Aurora, it's like, oh hey, you need coolers on there, right? Okay, well you could easily go and add some geometry to its little stubby side wings there, and have the coolers on there with some kind of protection, maybe thicken them up a bit or something, or maybe they're sunken into those wings. Maybe those wings are the component housing, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So in other words, it's even more of a flying brick.
Exactly.
For a
Yep.
brick, he flew pretty good.
But I definitely hope that we will be seeing, because that stuff has to happen
Yeah.
for everything to be on an equal footing here, as much as ships are. But I hope we start seeing that sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And to your point about the Freelancer, that thing needs a major overhaul so badly. And
Yes.
Also,
even
too, go on.
well, I just want to throw this out there that
Hmm.
if you look at the Freelancer's design, put aside the fact that the design itself or the visuals and the components need a overhaul. Put that aside. Look at the actual design of the ship. Look at its size compared to all the other ships that are out there. Why does it have space for 4 crew?
No, exactly. I was actually going to mention that. It's like it does not need. Now, that's not to say it can't support 4 crew, which, okay, if that's, maybe it's passengers, maybe it's meant to have some amount of it's a very small scale passenger ship. Okay, if that's what they want to go with, sure. But as it is, there is no logical reason for having, 2 crew, sure. 3, yeah, I
Yeah.
can see 3, pilot, co-pilot, and then the turret gunner. But 4, I can see it that, okay, hey, we're rounding numbers up, but at the same point, pretty sure none of the freelancers have a weapon rack or armor rack. You take one of those
Not that I'm
bunks
aware
in the
of.
middle there, chuck it out, throw your armor weapon racks in there. Anything else you need to do right in there. Rearrange the cockpit a bit. You could have some kind of other station there, or just, maybe you make it a asymmetrical cockpit, something like that. Who knows? Somewhat how to the um shoot the C2, the Hercules series, how it has the third seat in there, which I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, but
You could
also
have,
look at the
something.
size of that ship compared to the Freelancer. Like to me,
Oh yeah,
that like
and how much crew does it have?
yeah, exactly. So to me, the Freelancer, I would rip out those 2 rear seats on the main deck. I would rip out those 2 bunks. I'd do what you're talking about with the armor and weapons racks. And I'd maybe put some of the ship components up there where those 2 seats were, so they're quick access for the engineer or co-pilot to basically just turn around and start going to work. Like, but they, again, just the whole model, the whole design needs an overhaul.
Yes.
And take those struts out.
Oh, man.
And get me closer to that windscreen, so I'm not standing or
Yeah, I think
like
that's the problem, is that
7 feet
you're not close enough to the windshield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. All those ships do need an overhaul, and I hope you're right that we start to see it slowly trickling in. Even as background work would be fine.
Yeah.
But just some love for the older ships as we go forward.
Agreed.
One issue though, and my biggest concern with that, because again, we don't know, we're on the outside of this kind of stuff. But as we've heard them say, as we develop more and more ships, we learn a lot from what we're doing, how we're doing it, what we can do, and then we go back and we apply that to older ships, which is like cool. However, you have especially the earliest ships. For example, Constellation, Avenger, Aurora, Mustang, Freelancer. All these early, even the Cutlass to several degrees here. All of these early ships were built for some mechanics that never materialized, mechanics that have completely changed. Entirely new mechanics that were never even thought of at the time have been put in and made reality now, or at least they know they're going to be putting them in, like avionics, radar being actual components now instead of it just being a part of other of your quantum drive or whatever else.
Freelancer engines rotating.
Exactly. My concern is that, especially for some of these early ships, is that they will get, and I mean, you can go and argue some based on like who the ship manufacturer is, when the ship was made, how old the ship design is. You can argue some amount of stuff there that, these ships are newer designs compared to these other ships, which are really, really, really old, and so aren't as modern with all the modern bells and whistles. But my concern is just that we're seeing ships now built for these new mechanics. They're purpose built to go and fit this kind of stuff. Look at, for example, the Raft as a cargo ship, as a living space for a 2-person crew, I think. I mean, it's really nice, and that can partially just be that's the design choices that Argo chose to do, because you do have the different manufacturers doing different stylistic choices. But compare that, for example, to the Constellation. Very cramped for just its size. So much of its cubic area that it takes up is wasted. I still maintain that we need a complete and total, from the ground up, rework of the Constellation series. It seems like we aren't going to get it at this point, but therein is my issue. We have these older ships that, for example, the Constellation, when we're at the point where, hey, eating and drinking are more than just something you do, you're actually getting buffs or debuffs based on if you do or don't do it. You're getting, hey, if I'm transporting someone, there's luxury points that, hey, sorry, your Constellation, because of its interior size, gets a negative whatever the fuck rating on that. Like, this is the kind of stuff that can't just be hand waved away, because they were built for a different time, for different mechanics that either never materialized, changed, what have you. And I'm really worried that some of these older ships are just going to be left to essentially deprecate compared to the new ones. They're like, we're doing all this new stuff, cool. What about these guys, which you kept saying you were going to go and update them, and you at best put like a little bit of glitter paint on them, and that was it.
Yeah, that's my big issue.
Concern.
That's my big issue with their, every time they're asked, hey, when are these older ships going to get updated? They say, well, we're learning so much from these new ships, so we want to learn as much as we can before we go back and update them. And yes, that makes sense to a degree, but there is a line that you have to draw, that you say, okay, we have now learned this much. We have to go back and do these other ships, these older ships, because if you just keep going forward and forward and forward and forward, you're never going to go back, because you can always learn more. So that's, to me, that's an excuse that they're using to not do the work. And I don't agree with that. Like, unless you're going to give people new ships for free, as as replacements, then you owe it to the people who backed your company
originally, who got you to where you are.
Yeah, you owe them those updated ships. And to me, we're getting close to that timeline where you guys need to do something, or else it's going to start looking bad.
And I mean, I will note too that maybe, potentially, because like I said, I guarantee they've had this conversation before several times. But that being said, maybe the intention is that when they're getting close to when Squadron 42 is wrapping up, and they're like, okay, we're getting to almost all of our newer ships being gold standard.
Then
now we're going to go back and just take okay, hey, here's the Aurora, and we're just going to go 0 to 100 on it. Sure, but we should know that, and know that it's not just going to be an abandoned design of an earlier time kind of shit.
Yeah, this whole soon TM thing just doesn't work. Like, we're not saying you have to give us a date, but if your intent is,
let us
like,
know it's on the agenda. Let us know that it's not just being abandoned, and
or even that it's
just
essentially be more open with the community.
Yeah, like you said,
what are the plans?
We plan on doing
this. The gold standard. What is gold standard? For the Aurora, for example, for the Freelancer, with current mechanics. So right here, right now, what would gold standard look like? Sure, some stuff would be somewhat hypothetical. We might go and take we might reduce the crew down by 1 or 2 people. We might not. Sure, I can understand that you might not be able to commit at this time on that one way or another, but give us an idea of what we're looking at. But we'll see.
So how do you really feel about it? No kidding.
Okay, so let me open up my Word document that has 102 pages on it on this. In this essay, I won't. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I want to see some of the older ships get some love. I want them to be more open with the community going forward from here on in. And I just want more, essentially, it's kind of more cooperation between both. The community needs to be less, like, we want X, we want Y, we like, and CIG needs to be more open with what they're doing. So this way, essentially, it's better communication between the two overall, I think. Would be a vast improvement. And yeah, we definitely need to see the love for the older ships, especially since these are the original ships that got CIG where they are now. I guess that from that. Before we move on, I do want to talk about 3.16 patch watch, which they talk about the new law system stuff. So as we approach release date for Star Citizen Alpha 3.16, here are some additions that will make your dealings with the new law system much more interesting. So, defense of another. Players will be seen as hostile by everyone for a timed duration when they attack a lawful character. Prevents players having lasting crime stats in the case of friendly fire, and removed aggravated criminal assault. For removal of aggravated vehicle assault, they also removed. That was also removed. They have displaying victim names to infraction notifications, as we mentioned earlier in the patch notes. Bounty hunters being led to trespass zones around the prisons. So, the trespass zones around prisons, there's only one prison in the game, but when you go to the prison, there's a trespass zone, and the second you're in it, you can get a crime stat. They're going to reduce that if you're a bounty hunter, and make it smaller so you can actually, stop people from escaping. Criminals receive a less forgiving friendly fire allowance, and essentially just means if you already have a crime stat and you friendly fire, criminal and actively hostile timer players have reduced friendly fire allowance to prevent them from getting away with shooting and fleeing. Missiles in the law, so firing a locked missile will now max out the friendly fire hostility duration, and missiles will no longer provide accidental crime stats from missile-related friendly fire. And then atmospheric bounties, it's exactly as you'd think. That bounty targets dogfighting in atmosphere.
You know, it would be interesting.
No.
Is if they gave you a way to, once you've locked a missile and you fire it, if at that point you realize, oh shit, I fucked up or something like that, have a way of breaking that lock from your end. In other words, maybe a self-destruct or something like that. And then, but also that if you think about it, that would also cut down on the spamming of missiles. So now, if you have somebody who's a missile operator, he's not just going to be sitting there constantly just, lock on, launch, lock on, launch, lock on, launch, because maybe you need to keep, maybe have a limit of how many missiles you can be actively guiding at the time. I don't know. What would you think of that as a mechanic? Is that too inhibitive?
No, I think that's a good mechanic.
I think so. I think it depends on what they set the limit. If it's 2 missiles, then yes. If it's something more, maybe double digits, then no.
Maybe what you could salvo in before a reload. So in other words, you can fire everything you got, or you can track guide up to the number of missiles that you could fire before that weapon station has to reload another missile.
Yeah.
And that would, because that would give you the opportunity to go, oh, I made a mistake. That I launched a missile, but I don't want, the repercussions of hitting the target that I actually was locked on, self-destructive.
Like in actual torpedoes and on submarines, you can detonate them early. So.
Just an idea.
And a good one. We got the roadmap roundup for last week.
Everything delayed.
Pretty much. Progress tracker, lockable containers will add the ability to for containers to be locked with either physical or electronic locks, which can be opened in various ways. That is, these are things added to the to the progress tracker. FPS devices tier 1, further work on throwing system, allowing for development of deployable devices like deployable cover and I'm sure some other grenade types. Multi-grid SDF for capital ship destruction. Too early to plan, so we'll remove until next year. This is being removed from Progress Tracker, and the other thing that's being removed from the Progress Tracker this week was cockpit button animations, so too early to plan, so they're removing it. Release view, Area 18 Hospital, successfully integrated in 3.16. Dying Star map overhaul, it's in 3.16. Gravlev physics rework for 3.16. Jumpdown 2.0 is in 3.16. Derelict spaceships and points of interest are going to be moved to 3.16.1. So, pretty much January, February patch for 3.16. Laser chip mines
first
here.
quarter next year.
Yeah, well, before first quarter next year, but yes, yeah. Laser chip mine tier 0, same thing. It's not going to be in 3.16 when it goes live in 4 days. It's going to be 3.16.1. So it will be in 3.16. Just it's going to be a 3.16x patch. DNA head textures updates for like character creators and all that. That got moved to 3.17 along with mining gadgets, which I was a little bummed out about with the mining gadgets. Status on Alpha 3.16 is that Alpha 3.15 took longer to release than we had initially planned, which has limited the amount of time we have to stabilize 3.16. This means we've opted to branch from the 3.15 development stream to avoid risking overhaul stability. This means that we will be able to integrate low-risk 3.16 features. However, it will also mean that some content will be delayed into a 3.16.1 patch, which is scheduled to release after we return from the holiday break, which is late January, early February. So
basically, 3.16 is almost nothing, and we're going to get around to giving you the stuff that we said we would next year.
Yeah, but you know what? 3.15 was insanely large. So, like medical gameplay tier 0, physical inventory tier 0. Or steps towards both Death of the Spaceman and physicalized inventory. Like those are massive things. Like we can't just ignore that.
Oh no, I'm not.
I'm just saying, like, why is it that we're getting such a small patch? We're getting a small patch, and on top of that, we just got a massive patch, so it's going to look even smaller in comparison.
Well, I actually on this topic, somebody pointed something out on a different stream that kind of makes sense, which is I think a lot of us forget about, and that is the fact that if you look at the history of CIG's releases, patch releases, they're doing staggered development, and I realize that's just kind of like a buzzword for a lot of people, but if you look at how we've gotten our patches, you got mechanics of the game that come out in one patch, and then you get the supporting things and items and gadgets and missions and stuff that can use that usually in the next patch. And then the third patch is again mechanics. So to me, you're absolutely right. 3.15 was huge, and it was mechanics. It was, Death of a Spaceman and inventory. It like all the mechanical stuff behind the scenes. This patch was a lot more of like bits and bobs. There are still some mechanics that they were talking about giving us, but in general, it's much more of the gameplay stuff. So to me, it makes sense that those patches are much more susceptible to being thinned down because they're still working on making the mechanics that they got out of 3.15 work the way they want them to. So it's basically anyone should be prepared when you see the patches roll out. Which patches am I getting? And then if it's a mechanics patch, okay, it's going to be buggy as hell, but by the next patch they'll have worked that out. But the things in that follow-on patch are probably also going to drop out. Put my box away.
No.
Keep the box out. We're all just going to use it. We're going to stand out together and break it.
It's go.
No, I think they're definitely still trying to find a system that works. But you compare this year to years prior, and it's still definitely an improvement, even with all the COVID stuff and everything.
Well, you look at what was that 317 or sorry 2017 when we didn't get anything. I think that was the year we went like a whole year with absolutely
nothing. Yeah.
So I mean, anything they do now is going to be an improvement.
But I'm not even talking about then. I'm talking like from post 3.0. So post holiday 2017. Like you look at 2018 and then look at 2019. Look at 2019. Look at 2020. Then like you can see the improvements in the game and in how they operate.
Yeah.
So
I think 3.15 was a very, very strong patch.
I
mean,
yeah.
There was times that it was buggy, but in general, it's a much more playable patch than some previous patches that we had.
Also, a lot of the glitches and stuff are, again, server-side issues that hopefully when static server meshing comes into play, I want to say Q2, Q3, probably more realistically Q4 next year, along with the Pyro system, we should be seeing less of an issue in that. Not granted, not much less of an issue, but still enough that it will make a difference.
Yeah.
And now, look, missions aren't going to be super bugged to the point where anytime you try a mission on any server, it's going to be completely broken. Like, that probably won't be the case anymore. I hope. Desperately hope.
Well, I think if you look at the message boards in general, whether it's Spectrum or Reddit, you'll notice that just in the last few months, most of the messaging that's out there now is about how, the missions don't work, or I don't like this item or the way this item behaves. Whereas, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, you would have seen almost nothing but constant, like, this game's crashed. So I think they've made huge improvements just in the fact that you look at what people are complaining about, and it's no longer about crashing.
You say that I have a, in the chat right now, I have a vote thing. Pretty much like, what do you think of Star Citizen this year? Tell us in the chat. And just as a joke, one of the options I put is, it's still not out yet. Scam!
Yeah, I just saw somebody
scam
Citizen.
Just this morning when I fired up YouTube, I saw one of the first things that popped was some streamer out there. His video is titled "Proof that Star Citizen is a Scam."
Oh, is that the one I put in the Discord server a month or two ago? That is a great video. It's pretty much a video about the guy and how much he loves the game.
I didn't watch it because I generally don't watch those videos because 9 times out of 10 they're just
it's there's no logic or reasoning to it. But like, no, we could be talking about completely different videos, so I have no idea. But there is a video out there. I put it in the check the videos channel of both of either Discord servers, and you'll see like it's this video that's titled like "Proof that Star Citizen is a Scam." And then you watch it, and this guy, it's satirical. It's like sarcasm, and dude loves the game. Like, he's playing it, and you see all the footage and talking about how beautiful it is and how much fun, blah blah blah. It's like it's complete clickbait. Like, but
I love bait clicks.
Bait clicks. And there's bait watch. You got bait clicks. So year in review, like. 2021 for Star Citizen. How was it? January, we had the Daymar Rally community event, which is now official, like in lore and everything. It's canon. It was a player-created event. I remember helping someone train for a Daymar Rally race a few years ago, back when it was just a community, essentially idea. And Levski, Delamar was removed from the game in January. February this year, they released 3.12.1, Alpha 3.12.1 with Xenothreat, the first in-game server-wide event, bringing in an interest and cargo collecting, and honestly just some really good times. The Red Festival with plenty of new ship paints and Valentine's Day contest entry stuff, which Here's that Xeno threat. Here's the Valentine's Day stuff. March, we got first wave of ship naming for specific ships, as well as the Cyclone MT for St. Patty's Day, naming, which we all kind of just forgot exists because it's just a glorified Cyclone TR with missiles. April had the reveal of the Origin 404. That's according to the notes, even though it's not called the 404, it's the 400. We had the release of Alpha 3.13, including caves, sinkholes, Cave System 2.0, which includes sinkholes and drivable and fly-in caves, new mission types, reputation system, stagger and force reactions, and trolleys, which we've done some... Data and I have done some very interesting and fun shenanigans with the trolleys, including running people over with them. And destroying ramps with them, apparently. Then we have May, which was Invictus Fleet Week, where you were able to walk around a Javelin destroyer, albeit a small section of it, and we did that on stream. And obviously you had the Bengal carrier in-game flying around, and you actually got to see it. I crashed into it a few times.
Just a few times?
I mean, I was trying to go for a cinematic landing with my Eclipse on the deck, on the poop deck, but the flight deck. And then,
whatever you say.
Not work well.
So what you're saying is you will not be the pilot. Got it.
Much. Addition to the Hercules Starlifters, M2 and C2 variants, as well as the Tumbrel Nova tank during May. And we got our first look at the RSI Scorpius fighter.
X-Wing.
Yep, pretty much. And the tank, oh man, when the tank first came out, we were having so much fun with it.
It's nice.
It's so much fun.
One in game. When missions work.
Yeah. June we got...
here's my question.
Yeah?
Not to interrupt you. Here's my question with the tank. I'm pretty sure, like, this was several years ago, so could change, but several years ago it was brought up that, especially with the Redeemer's shape and everything, people are like, hey, we should have the ability to have a vehicle strapped to a ship through some kind of grav plate or some baloney like that. But
essentially, we want to carry our Warthog with our Pelican Halo style.
Yes, exactly. I really fucking hope we have some ability, even if it's something like the Constellation and the Merlin kind of thing, where it's bespoke. Oh, this is made to carry a Cyclone under each of its wings or some shit like that. Sure, okay, but it would be pretty fucking cool.
It would, and I love that sort of stuff. Just like be creative with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some of the cool stuff. And honestly, like Invictus this year was definitely like really between the fleet stuff. You saw the Bengal and how amazing it looked, and that was the older model for it. Like that's not the updated model and everything, but still it looks great. It was just really cool to see the biggest human ship in game. Well, second biggest. Let's not forget about the Dreadnought. Let's see. So in June we had Alien Week announcing the Raylan cargo carrier, that Geon cargo ship, which you can see on screen right now. And then we had the release of the Nine Tails Lockdown event in game, which came out with the release of Alpha 3.14, which gave us a rework of the dogfighting gameplay, capacitors, missile operator mode, new flight HUD, and Crusader. No, sorry, Crusader was 3.13. Well, that's another thing. We had Crusader this year. Fully rendered, complete, 3D, fully traversable gas giant. Granted, if you try to get into the center of the gas giant, gravity will crush you and you will die, but still, it is a full gas giant in a video game. That is no easy feat, and that is definitely something worth noting. And just the new dogfighting stuff, like the capacitor system. I'm not a fan of what they did to ammo, in that like ballistic ammo still feels very minuscule. Like they need to raise the numbers on that by at least an extra digit. Because size 1 ballistics, you have like 200 rounds. And these are for
honestly ammo. Like I'm with the way they have ballistic weapons set up right now, or rather how they had them. I know there's been a few balanced and stuff. I would be perfectly fine if they had it to where the ammo balance was how it originally was in, what was it, 3.14, I think, when they completely did the overhaul. Keep your ammo around, so it's like, okay, hey, here's my, for example, what was it, the Avenger series with its nose gun, which is a size 4, I think, size 3 on a gimbal. But it's like, oh hey, it's got like 200 rounds. Okay, give it 200 rounds. However, that's one ammo box. Give it 3, 4, 5 ammo.
So like you use up the 200 rounds, and then it has to reload before you can use it again. But in total, you have a few thousand rounds. Yeah.
Because then also too, let's say I've got an Aurora with all ballistics. Well, maybe I split up my ballistics, as they have said they want us to be able to make our own weapon groups here. Maybe I split those up so I'm only firing them, one at a time here in certain patterns. So that way, I'm just using 2 weapons. Oh shit, those are reloading. Okay, now I'm using my other 2. Wow, my first 2 are reloading, so I'm constantly spitting out. I'm not using all my firepower at once, but I'm constantly putting it out. There you go. That's strategy. Sorry, go on.
I'm not a fan of capacitors at all. To me, it's a hand wavium blocker to make the game more World War II in space simi, and I'm not a fan of that. However,
it's too contrived.
Yeah, it's too contrived, and it dumbs down components. Like it negates the reason for going and putting all the going and finding the perfect balance of components for your specific game style and ship. So I don't like it, but I would be okay with them doing more of a thing where, like, okay, if you have energy weapons, technically you've got unlimited supply, but have it be something like, hey, your gun can fire so many times before the heat builds up, and you need a cooldown period before you use
more than like you need to actually sit there for like 30 seconds or more. Let it cool down.
Yeah, like you get okay, the gun can fire, with a cooler that you have, the gun can fire 25 times before, and I'm just picking a random number. But your gun can fire, your energy cannon can fire 25 times, and then you need a 3-minute cooldown time or something. Again, just picking a random number.
No,
I'm okay with that.
I like that.
And the offset to me is, then you're saying, so people don't want to deal with that, then go ballistics. Which, hey, guess what? You've got a shorter range and you've got limited amount of ammo.
Yep.
But that ballistic gun can fire every round that you possibly have in it in the time that you can, hold that trigger down. Let it do it. But guess what? Now you're out of ammo. So now you got to go back home. You're out of the fight. Like, to me, those balance each other out. I'm done.
Oh, by the way, it was 314 ahead. I was right the first time. But yeah, that was yeah. So
that's Mando's way of saying, I don't care.
No, I do. I just kind of trying to move on. No, I think the capacitor system can work. Like, Carlton, have you actually played since the capacitor system? Okay, with it, because
my whole point is, why is it there? What does it actually do? Like,
it makes using size 1 weapons a pain in the ass, is what it does. Because
so that's a con.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, like my Aurora, like, essentially, if you're using a ship that has size 1 weapons like an Aurora, like your overheat, your gun, you're running out of like your energy ammo, quote unquote, right? Your capacitors have to drain and recharge, within 2 seconds if you're just doing consistent fire. Like there is an overheat bar, but that overheat bar essentially on most of these guns never even reaches halfway because you're running out of charge before you can. So they just maybe they need to either rebalance that entirely, or I say just forego the capacitor stuff and just keep the heat thing there. This way, the system is still there. It's just instead of capacitors, you're just focusing on heat.
Yeah, which is physics, and like to take a step back from it, I look at it and I go, I ask the question that I just asked you, which is, what does it bring positive to the table? Because all I see capacitors doing is taking things away. It's negative, 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 negative. Where's the bonus for it? So therefore, why did they implement it? And the only reason that I can see them implementing it is they don't want you to be able to fire your weapons, as long or as far as you were able to in the past. And to me,
does,
that's all about
there is a pro, and the pro is for PvP.
I'll stop.
No, the pro is for PvP, essentially. That's at least to me, that's like the whole reason to do this. It's kind of like to make more, because the whole point of it was to make it more skill-based rather than just click and hold your mouse, and then, because beforehand you can just hold the trigger indefinitely. Yeah, your guns would overheat, but the second you let go of the trigger, you just click it again, and your guns were done overheating.
Okay, so what's the point in having the best power generation component if this capacitor thing is basically just going to strangle your power?
Yeah, no, that's the problem. I feel like, okay, get rid of the capacitor part, but keep the heat part, because the heat is still there. It's just you're focusing on the capacitors, like, focus on the heat this way, because right now, and I do like how the power triangle actually does affect how much charge your capacitors have, and that's good. Like if I put all power to weapons, I'm gonna have more charge to my weapons than if I have power evenly distributed.
I guess what I'm not understanding is, to me, if you took out the capacitor, all those systems would still function. Like your power triangle still works better if you put power to your weapons without the capacitor or with the capacitor. So why is the capacitor there?
I guess it's a visual indicator.
Huh?
A visual indicator? I'm
really
asking, I guess.
That's really all it is.
It's just for PvP, so this way you're just not like holding. Essentially, just as I said, it's pretty much so that you're not just holding the trigger down. You actually have to, short controlled bursts don't spray and pray, pretty much.
Oh, and I mean,
that's what it was. That's what it was designed.
Well, my issue is just that it seems that, at least initially here, and we've still got a long way to go. So of course this can go any number of ways. Now this is still alpha. Everything is still up to change and in the air. My worry about it is that there is a very vocal minority, I'll say, in the Star Citizen community that is very much PvP all day, PvP everything, and not just PvP, but I've seen, and this is probably even a smaller subset, but this idea that everyone in the game is either them or their prey. And they want game mechanics to support this style gameplay. These are the ones who
essentially
it's against PvP.
Yeah, it's more like we need competitive dogfighting. Essentially, it's like this.
I just heard last night, Moist Noodle, who's he's a big time Star Citizen streamer, and he's one of that very vocal minority PvP players. And he was actually asked, like, what's the big thing that you want to see next year? And he goes, I want to see a system that funnels everyone together, because I don't like how everyone's spread out and you can't.
I
go
want
and
easy
find
prey.
people.
I don't just want prey. I want
Exactly.
easy prey.
And I just, to me, that is just like that
it's
is
the wrong attitude, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Because
it's saying everyone else
Here's
should
the
play the
thing,
way
and
I want them to.
I don't want to
Well,
make this.
it's not
I
even
don't. I
that.
don't want to make this sound like a cop-out answer, but like, what the fuck do you think Arena Commander's for? Like, yes, I understand Arena Commander and the PU have different feels because the systems, like, they focus on the PU right now, so Arena Commander doesn't get as much love and they don't update it and stuff. But your focus should then be, hey, tell them to put care into that so that you can get your competitive PvP dogfighting fix, as opposed to making dogfighting in the PU service your needs when it negatively affects everyone else.
You're building game mechanics that force everybody else into his gameplay style, and that's bad.
And on that note too, if you had, and again with this mentality, and that's the best way I've really heard it put, is this idea of, you're either me or my group of buddies, or you're prey. And this mentality is the problem is that when you have people who are not subscribing to this mentality, who they're like, hey, I'm gonna do my cargo run. Okay, I've spent however many hours building up the money just to buy the cargo. Okay, I buy my cargo, I throw it on my cargo ship, I fly out there, and the big bad pirate comes along, kills me, steals my cargo, and shoots me in the face. All right, that's the end of that run. Or another person who goes, hey, I'm going to go do mining. Cool. Big bad pirate comes along and just shoots the quantanium tanks to make the miner explode and goes,
or just more relevant. You just someone who's into PvE dogfighting instead.
Yeah, and then someone just
now
he's
suffered from this.
They can't. The problem with this is that you're only going to have especially if you have mechanics that are forcing this style of gameplay, you're only going to have people playing for so long until suddenly, hey, how come all the prey has left and all that's left is a bunch of fucking cancerous assholes who are all trying to gank each other? Like, that's not how this is supposed to be. Star Citizen, not Star Wars, not Star PvPers, not Star everyone else is my prey. Star Citizen. It's supposed to be a community on the stars. And that means you're going to have good, bad, middling, indifferent, all kinds of people. But that also means that you should not be having mechanics that are forcing people into one specific play style while not making others equally viable. Sure, yes, there absolutely should be time. Piracy is meant to be a legitimate gameplay, but piracy is not just going along and ganking people.
Piracy, there's a line between piracy and griefing, and a lot of griefers. There's a line
between piracy and what would be legitimately murder.
And
everything, pretty much everything that's anti-player in any way, shape, or form is getting lumped into this piracy thing, and you have legitimate pirates, rightfully so, going, hey, well, wait a minute, this isn't piracy, this isn't what we're about. Which, okay, fair enough. I absolutely agree there. But at the same point, you have these people who they want to be griefers. They want to ruin other people's time. They want to be, I'm the big bad wolf and everyone else is the prey, and that's the way it's going to be.
Well, that's the thing, is you have the griefers that use piracy as, like, essentially their guise of griefing. Yeah. It's like, oh no, this is my piracy gameplay. It's like, no, this is you being an asshole ruining someone else's time.
Well, and I should know. That mentality, I'm the big bad wolf and everyone else is my prey, and that's how it's going to be. That's a legitimate play style. However, at the same point, especially given this is meant to be a community kind of thing, it's Star Citizen, that style of play should be heavily stacked against the player who wants to do that. It's like, oh, hey, you start going around, especially, I'm a pirate, and then I blast you in the, like, because I've literally heard of, I've seen people on Reddit. This was just a couple of days ago. I saw someone on Reddit boasting about how they managed to go and use the quantum interdiction or something like that. They managed to go and find some either a miner or a cargo. I think it was a cargo guy. And they're like, hey, you better pay us, 50,000 AUEC, or we're gonna blow you up. And the guy was like, okay, hey, I'm just trying to make my car go on. Here's the money. Like, thanks. Blam! And they blew him up anyway. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, at that point, I'd almost argue that's on the line between piracy and griefing. Sure. Now, that being said, part of it is that we just don't have the systems in place to really go and counter that. And once you do, I'd argue that kind of stuff should be taken over by in-game systems, and that, hey, you have a huge, just from that one interaction, like if you're just a pirate, yeah, okay, fine, but you didn't kill anyone. Sure, okay. You start going and killing people like that, hey, now you've got huge bounty contracts on your head, and you've got increased UEE prices. Like, the deck should be getting more and more and more and more stacked against you, to the point where it's not viable for very long-term gameplay for you to do this, unless you are like constantly moving around and stuff. Maybe then. But again, the deck should be heavily stacked against you, because it's meant to be a real, quasi-realistic world, and the real world doesn't work on some people going around and going, I'm just gonna go and beat the fuck up whoever I decide to today, and that's how it's gonna be. No, of course not. You start doing that, police are gonna show up, and at minimum, you're probably going to fucking jail. But, yeah.
So how do you really feel?
So,
one of my
there I was.
biggest grumps about the community is that group that say that, oh, well, if you're playing this game, you should expect combat. And
to an extent, they're not wrong, but they should not expect PvP combat all the time, especially
they
when...
They should expect ganking.
Yeah. Not in the sense they're talking about, anyway. Like combat, I mean, like not combat in the sense they're talking about. Like, yes,
like
you should.
When they
you should be aware of what you're doing,
business, and dump 5 missiles at them to instantly explode them. It's like, should that be expected? No. Can that happen? Sure, and that's pretty fucking bad luck. But it's like, this should not be a common occurrence.
Like having people just essentially camp the stations, name a station, doesn't matter, and just essentially trying to incite fights so that they can have some of the dogfight, because they're just too moronic to use Arena Commander, where there's a whole matchmaking system for precisely that. And I know Arena Commander doesn't work like the PU does. Then bug CIG to get it working versus making everyone else's gameplay in Star Citizen worse than it can already be with glitches. So
yeah.
I'm just saying, because Arena Commander, it needs some love too, Star Marine needs some love. I mean, where's freaking Theaters of War? So, like, I don't mind if, like, oh, you know what, this patch focuses on Arena Commander improvements or whatever. Because you know what? If it means more, better gameplay and just more variety, then why is that bad? But they're not seeing that because they want to do it in the PU, where they have their custom ship and all that. Even though all that stuff in Commander as well, you can customize your ship and rent stuff and rent equipment to use, and you earn points that you use to rent things and repeat process. Like, there's a good system there. It just needs some work, some tweaks, some updates.
So I had an idea last week, and I wanted to put this by you guys. Tell me what you think. How is time going to be handled by CIG? Because think of this: how is CIG going to handle a player booking passage from one system to another? Let's say that it takes X amount of time. It might be hours, it might be days. They're not the player isn't flying his own ship. He's using, air quotes, commercial travel, passenger. It's going to take X amount of time for him to get there, him or her to get there. Are they just going to allow that person to actually, sit press button, boom, he's now in the new system? Or are they going to enforce that, no, he needs to actually sit in that seat for the next, 5 hours or 2 days, depending on how far that travel is, before he can actually gameplay? And or do they just say, no, he fast travels, and then what's the impact? Because if they're going to make you sit in that seat for the actual amount of time it takes in game to move, people aren't going to enjoy that. They're not going to play. Like, that's not, they're just not going to use that mechanic. But then if they go the other route and they allow fast travel, what kind of impact does that have? Because think about bounty hunting. If a guy can go create, do crime, now he's got a bounty on his head, and you're a player and you're hunting him, and he just goes and books a ticket, boom, hits fast travel, he's gone from that system instantaneously. There's no way for you to catch him. So or think about, like, flooding the market or buying the market out in that area of that commodity, that people will be able to go in and flood a market or buy it out before the system can actually adjust for it, because guess what? He just fast traveled out with all, having bought everything, boom, he's gone. And then
I don't want, like, I remember when they were talking about agent smithing, and I'm so glad they decided not to do that.
I thought they said recently, like just like a year or two ago, so in recent time here, that they were going to do the agent smithing, or they were still at least having it on the table.
I don't know.
Now that being said,
well,
my thought
something tells me they don't know either.
It is a really good point. My thought on it is that so if I book passage to, I'm going from one end of the system, or one end of the known galaxy to the other on a passenger liner. And part of the problem too is that, what happens if, say, so my underlying thought is that it should take essentially quasi real time for them to travel, i.e. the ship is moving from point A to point B. You can go and be like, hey, I'm going to go and log out, and then I come back 3 days later, and if the trip was a 2-day journey or a 3-day journey, okay, I'm at the station of my destination where I want to be here. Part of the problem with that, though, is what happens if that ship gets attacked, as could happen, or other interesting events were to happen. Is it just, hey, you were asleep and locked in your stateroom on the ship, as the excuse might go, and so you just missed out on whatever would happen? I'd say that would be plausibly realistic. Like, sure, okay, on some ships, like the Carrack. Oh, the Carrack was in a huge fight, but you were in the crew quarters, and so you missed it. Is that realistic? No, but for game mechanic wise, good enough kind of thing. The only real kicker there would be, what if you were just like the ship was destroyed while you are, you're not playing,
or you're the bounty, and the bounty hunter is trying to interdict your ship. Then you need to be there.
To that, what I would say is that there should be some amount of mechanics in place that would go and look at. So let's just say I'm a regular civilian, so to speak. Ship was attacked. Ship was destroyed. Okay. All of this while I am offline. Now, maybe we'll have an app on our phones, the Spectrum app, and that'll have all of our forum stuff, but it's also going to, because they said they want Spectrum to tie to in-game stuff as well, maybe I'll get an alert, hey, ship under attack. And you're like, oh shit, if I'm able to, let me go and log in and, fucking jump in on this shit, right? Alternatively, let's say you're like, hey, I'm at work here. I ain't going nowhere. Okay, fair enough. And then my reasoning would be that, especially if you had booked passage, at least through whatever in-game, if you're just on a random player's ship and this happens, maybe there'll be different mechanics. But if I'm using the specified mechanics for player transport as they'll be in the future, There would be, well, you got to an escape pod or otherwise, got out of the ship fine. You were rescued perfectly fine, and maybe there'd be some dice rolls in the background that, maybe you suffered some injuries. Maybe everything wasn't fine, but those should still be pretty fucking rare in my opinion. If you are not in the game, the chances of really bad stuff happening to you should be pretty minimal. Like, sure, I'm okay with there's a chance, but it's like a 1 out of 10 kind of thing. That if the ship was blown up, oh hey, you suffered some injury during that, because again, you're not online, you aren't playing the game. The game is still happening, but you aren't in there. Chances should be pretty low. So you were picked up. Most likely you were unharmed, and then insurance or whatever else pays for you to continue your journey. So let's say, for example, hey, I'm not able to play for fucking a week. I book passage to the Stanton system from wherever the fuck the other side of the known universe here, and the ship I was on was attacked. And the journey was a 3-day journey. Ship was attacked. Ship was blown up. I was rescued. My chance of injury is pretty fucking minimal. Assume I made it out of there alive. Insurance went and covered the rest of my journey. By the time I get back after that week, I should be in the Stanton system. Maybe there would be a couple like little onesie-twosie stuff I might have to take care of there, but otherwise, generally speaking, my journey should have been uninterrupted over a certain amount of time. If you are like bounty hunted, that's a bit of a different thing. I would argue that there should be a chance, although still a very small chance, that you would be picked up. Maybe it's like, oh, this person is a real recluse and they stay in their cabin unless they get out of their cabin, or if the bounty hunter has like, the bounty hunter would have to not only get information, but they'd have to get lucky.
Let me interrupt you, Cam, because I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. But what I'm getting at is more about which system do they allow, fast travel or real time? And it sounds like what you're saying is real time. But then my question is, okay, so now you're transiting for 3 days. That's basically saying you can't play the game for 3 days.
Well, you'd have to have stuff on the ships to do.
I would say, the way around that is give people something to do on board the ship.
Sitting in it. Sorry, I'll stop. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Well, I was gonna say, if you're gonna have a ship like, okay, say you're on the Genesis Starliner, right? Yeah. We don't we can go based on concepts, but realistically, we don't know what the interior of the ship is going to be and what you can do on board. So,
but I don't care. Like my whole point, I understand what you guys are saying, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But think about it. Like, I'm not logging in because I want to sit around on a Starliner. That I don't want to do that for 3 days. That's not
at the bar and drink till you're knocked out drunk in the game simulator.
Right.
You're playing Star Citizen.
Yeah. Right. So to me, that mechanic, if they enforce real time travel, or even a modified version of that, where essentially my gameplay for the next couple hours, let alone days, is all I can do if I log into Star Citizen is walk around on this small ship. No matter what they give me to do on that ship, that's all I can do. I'm just saying, I don't think that's good.
Too linearly.
Well,
for example,
I understand that. I get that there's other things they can do. Maybe you can play Star Marine or whatever. You can go into.
They did say that you'll have mini games on.
And do those things.
They did say you'll have mini games on your mobiGlas. So.
Right.
Well, here's a thought. What if? So, and a good point of you can play like Star Marine or Marine Commander, that kind of shit. Sure. As a thought, and again, I'm completely spitballing, theory crafting, bullshitting.
And we've been doing that for the last hour now.
Oh, sure. But so let's say, for example, that I have a Carrack. Now bear in mind, you would need an entire system set up to support this. But let's say I have a Carrack.
No, let's not say you do have a carrot.
And, yes, but for the sake of example, and those who don't know, let's say I have a carrot. And I've got one other player who's on my crew, who consistently on my crew here. I've got one NPC on my crew just to handle those. When my co-pilot isn't there, the NPC will be able to take over some of that stuff. And I have 3 of this new kind of NPC called a drone, or whatever the fuck. So these whatever the fucks, that's the name I'm going to use now. So these whatever the fucks,
designation whatever the
fucks, are going to go and sit there and do nothing until someone, through some kind of arrangement or system or whatever else. So like my friends would be prioritized on this. Next step would be there'd be like a job board kind of thing. And these whatever the fucks would be controlled by these other players. And again, so if my friends, I'm flying around and I'm like, hey Mando, I could really go and use an engineering officer right now. Mando goes, hey, sure, let me go and jump to a, or maybe it's something you can control through your Mobi, whatever. But he's then able to take control of one of the whatever the fucks, and he's not able to do things maybe quite as well as a regular player would. Maybe they can't equip everything a regular player would. It's some amount of trade-offs here. But these are our Agent Smiths. There's drawbacks to it. It's not just you take control of whatever the fuck NPC. These are dedicated units meant to be telecontrolled through fucking space magic, whatever bullshit they need to do to make it work. But sure, they aren't going to be quite as effective as a regular player in that kind of thing. Maybe they have less health inherently or whatever. But now I'm able to play wherever. Hey, cargo trader who's doing a cargo one and they need some turret gunners, I'll take control of whatever the fuck, and I'm turret gunning for him while my actual character is sitting on the Genesis Starliner, sitting there with the little VR visor, whatever the fuck on, doing that. How's that as an idea? Because if you have a job board, I can go anywhere. I think that'd be pretty interesting. And again, there would definitely be inherent trade-offs to using a whatever the fuck versus actually being there as a player. Just inherently, you aren't going to be as, maybe you're stronger, but you have a lot less health, or other stuff like that. So it's like you don't just have people doing this all the time. But yeah,
reaction speed or something, because you're like think like what you're describing is, and this could be a bad apparently not analogy. Really call sign. This could be a bad example, but in the Iron Man comics back in the 90s, he had a telepresence, which when he was essentially at one point in time, Tony Stark was essentially like disabled and was like not able to really. It's a good storyline actually, but essentially the Iron Man suit at the time was not a suit; it was essentially just a robot that was had Iron Man armor essentially that had all these gadgets and stuff, and he controlled it with a headset essentially. And there were some drawbacks like reaction speed and stuff, but there's also like some cons, like okay, he can push himself further because he's not actually there. Like he can put the suit at risk because it's just a robot that he's controlling. It's not him in the suit.
They're about to shoot my torso out, and that's definitely going to go through the armor. Well, I don't care. It's not my torso.
Exactly.
Also, too, such a unit could also be used. So once we actually have several prisons, it's not just cluster here. You could have at like the because again, this idea that it's not just prison, we're not just locking you up, but we're going to make you do stuff, because it's still a game. You don't want to just throw people into a box and throw away the key. Even for your worst offenders, you want to punish them, but at the same point, you still want them to be able to play the game. Maybe for it's like, oh hey, join our mining program. We are controlling one of these suits. Now you can try to set up your escape route with the suit, but you got to do it without letting on what you're doing. Stuff like that. Where it's like, okay, I can control something, but it's not me. How do I go and affect my escape while controlling this robot and not giving away that I'm trying to escape kind of shit? You know, there you go. And again, this is this higher ranking security prison kind of thing. It's going to be more difficult to get out of there, right? You know, I think there'd be a lot of uses for something like that.
Okay, so
yeah, I just don't think that. And
go.
All right, I gotta head out anyway. So
I was gonna say like you wanted to head out, so I figured we can do like a quick, just like what were your thoughts on Star Citizen this year, 2021? Like good, bad, ugly.
Need work.
Go.
Needs improvement.
Needs improvement. I mean, like what? And out of everything we got this year in Star Citizen,
let him talk. Jeez.
I just it was a good year. It was better than the previous one. I always when I take a step back and I look at it, without my nose pressed up against the glass, I'm always amazed at what we actually do have. As much as we bitch about it, it's impressive, and I'm looking forward to even more and better.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm out.
Right.
We'll see you guys next show.
Yeah, see you next week. Take care.
Drive fast, take chances.
Watch out for what the fucks.
I should put that on a t-shirt. Definitely putting that on a t-shirt. But yeah, and for anyone watching, we do bitch and complain and kvetch a lot, but it's all out of a place of love. We do it because we care. If we didn't care, we wouldn't be saying anything.
Well, and yeah, I don't know. We bitch, we moan, we complain. At the same point, though, no one, literally no one, is even trying to do anything on the scale of Star Citizen.
Nope.
The amount of not just breadth but depth. I mean, so often you hear, oh, it's a mile wide and an inch deep, and that describes a lot of games these days. Like, oh, hey, there were some cool ideas, but the devs were never really given time to flesh them out and really make them flourish. You hear this all the time. Like how many cut content restoration mods do you see for every fucking game out there because they don't
name a Bethesda game that hasn't had them
anymore. We have to work on the next thing.
Yeah. Or not even. It's kind of just a look. We had a deadline to get the game out at X time.
Yeah.
So we had to cut all this shit. Like Halo 2, half the game is essentially cut because they had to get the game out. Forerunner tank, Covenant ship, all this Forerunner ship, all these levels that were cut from the game that were going to make it for a very different game. And in retrospect, what we got was amazing. But like, imagine what it could have been.
And that's the thing is, it's like we want Star Citizen to be the best it can be, just because, like I said,
exactly,
literally no one else is doing this shit. So it's like we've got one shot here, really, one chance. We want to make it the best shot it can be for everyone, not just ourselves, but for everyone.
Right. I mean, like, whenever I say, "Oh, this is my dream game come true," and I'm watching it being built in front of my eyes, that is not an exaggeration or anything. That is the honest to God truth.
Like, anyone who's played like sci-fi shit, like I used to do like role playing in Jedi Knight Jedi Academy.
Same. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. When I was a young lad, and like we, you'd be like sitting on a map. Oh, we've been interdicted by this Imperial cruiser kind of shit. But now you can actually be fucking interdicted and have a strike group actually attacking you. You're actually running around your ship trying to put out fire. You aren't just role playing. Oh, I'm sitting here putting out fires because
no, you're actually putting out fires. Like things are actually happening if you actually do it.
Don't put it out.
You don't have to. That's the beauty of Star Citizen. Is like, how many times do we just get lost in it? Like, because you and I don't do a lot of the role playing stuff in Star Citizen. We're just like, oh crap, this is happening, that's happening.
Oh, we're trying to do this. Oh, to do that. Like, oh, we're trying to get everyone here to this one planet, and 3 hours later. But it's like this is quite literally the sci-fi game. If you want to be Commander Shepard, go be Commander Shepard. just bear in mind, no one else is going to go and be the goons to your Commander Shepard.
Well,
Everyone
unless
else
you have an
wants to be
orc.
Commander Shepard too, or Theron, or everyone wants to be the hero of their story. And it's like, well, I want to be mowing down the mindless goon squads. Well, sure, but they want to mow you down too, and it's semi-equal footing here. So
Right.
good luck to all involved.
Well, they also got, and for anyone that's like, oh, well, Star Citizen, like, it's taking so long, it should have already been out, blah, blah, blah. Like, we've covered this in previous episodes, but long story short, it's mostly just don't believe all the clickbait articles, do the research for yourself, and,
then again, like, watching this, they've already...
Yeah, if you're watching this, then...
looked in.
Honestly, like,
people who watch us.
I'm just going to say, check previous episodes that we've done, because we've gone into detail, like, on this topic, but essentially, the money that they have, because every single penny that CIG has regarding this is from crowdfunding, because they solely make everything from crowdfunding.
No, they have done.
No, that's true. That's not true. I mean, they do have the investment stuff, but everything ship-wise and stuff like that's all crowdfunding. Anything that you do will be crowdfunding. And once they get Squadron out, that'll mean they finally have a bona fide product they can sell to make an actual profit.
Fingers crossed for 2022.
Hopefully, that would be amazing. Pyro and Squadron
2022.
Like, look, we know we're getting Pyro next year. It may be like this time next year, at worst, but we know we're getting it. Just because, based on what we've seen of what they have for surface meshing so far, and Pyro itself. So, I feel confident that we're going to get it next year. Squadron, I'm not confident that we're going to get next year, but if we do, I am just... I will lose it. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, is you have, essentially, it's a first-person shooter game built with some RPG mechanics that's also an open world game.
If I had to categorize it, analytically categorize it, it would be Squadron 42, not Star Citizen. It is a single player story driven action RPG FPS adventure game. Bit of a mouthful, but yeah, essentially because it's got that open world. Essentially, it's Star Citizen, but in a single player story driven format.
But I mean, for example, too, like one thing for those of you who've been following development and all that kind of shit, the Gladius is meant to be kind of one of the primary hero ships. It's meant to be your fighter that
at least that you start with
for a good part of, we don't know if it's necessarily the majority of or all of, but for a good part of Squadron 42, you're going to be flying a Gladius. Okay. We also know, hey, they've added both weapon racks and a personal inventory storage there, which presumably is going to be armor storage or other things. If you need to move something from point A to point B for a mission or whatever, there's some curio, or maybe it's you're like, I'm going to collect all the garden gnomes in this location, whatever.
Pulling a Half-Life, huh?
But exactly. Glad you picked that one up.
You have failed the challenge.
I've never beaten that one, honestly. I got the one true bullet, but not that one. Anyway, that opens up that your ship, and in fact most ships, should go and have at least one weapon rack. Gladius has 2, by the way, and at least some kind of armor storage. Maybe not SU space, but armor storage, or rather a personal inventory cubby of some kind. With that, you can have loadouts for your FPS character. So not only are you customizing, hey, here's my ship, maybe I want to tweak the weapons around, maybe I want to switch from ballistic to laser, or vice versa, or some of the other myriad options that the Navy is going to let you mount on there for whatever the mission at hand is. But also too, hey, I'm gonna be going and attacking this enemy base here. I want to go and I want stealth. So all my weapons are going to have suppressors on them, and I'm going to go and I'm going to have a long range sniper, and then I'm going to have a medium range assault rifle, and then I'll have a pistol for a close range that I'll use. Some kind of setup like that, and you can go be like, yeah, that's my loadout. Hey, we're gonna be just kicking in the door and breaking shit. Okay, I'm gonna have a light machine gun with a compensator on there, extra large magazines if they have that as a thing at some point.
Extended
Shit
mag.
like
If we're talking like what we're gonna get in the future, we're gonna be getting alternate ammo types and stuff. Star Citizen is essentially let's take the best elements from other simulators and just games in general, combine it into one giant massive dream game. So like a lot of elements, like at least to me, a lot of the FPS stuff I noticed is kind of reminding me of Arma, and for the best reasons. Like we're gonna get like mag stripping and stuff like that. Like it's just alternate ammo types. Like at the moment, like you got like your standard issue bearing S38 10mm pistol, right? 15 rounds per mag. Okay, here's an extended mag, and it's 10mm, but this time it's hollow points, or this time it's 10mm, API. I don't know, like. I just love that, and that's the thing that Star Citizen really gets to me, is that it's not like other space sims, because Star Citizen is not the only space sim out there. Like it's constantly being compared to the likes of No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, Eve. My opinion is none of those four are comparable with each other because they're all different. The only similarities are really the only similarities between the four are space and ships.
Yeah.
Like, aside from that, and yes, they're all space sims in a way, but they're very different space sims. And that's not a bad thing. Like, it's not like one's better and one's worse. It's just, they're different. They each have their own unique and distinct differences in what makes them versus, like the other game. And that's great. Like if you want more solely ship-focused stuff and flying around, exploring the universe, and just focusing on your ship, Elite Dangerous was perfect for that. You want to do something more economical and more just, finance stuff and like stuff like that. Eve, like if you just want to kind of explore and do mining and base building kind of stuff, at least at the moment, I'd say No Man's Sky. Star Citizen will eventually have that stuff too. Already has the mining, so. But Star Citizen, at the end of the day, like, those other games, it's mostly about the ships and fleets and stuff. Star Citizen, it's not about the ships. Like, everyone makes it out to be about the ships, but it's not. At least I don't think so. To me, Star Citizen is about you, the character, the player character, or your player character that you create on foot. And then the ships are just a tool, because many guys in our org cam, like, they're just like, I don't want to be a pilot. Like, I'm probably never going to set foot in the pilot seat. And the fact that you never need to in Star Citizen is incredible. Like, yeah, we don't know how they're going to do shuttling stuff. Like, I want to take a NPC run shuttle, right, from Area 18 to, the Killian star system, all like halfway across the galaxy or whatever. We don't know how that's going to work, but we know that will be an option. That you don't actually have to fly yourself there. You can just rely on, for lack of a better term, public transportation and contract services, like in the real world. You're not flying yourself to overseas when you're going across the Atlantic. You're taking Delta Airlines or American or whatever it is. So like the fact that you don't have to, like, Chris Roberts was talking about how like he wants it where you don't even have to leave a single planet. You should have like a lot of gameplay options there. And that's just and the fact that they have these massive ships and even the small ships where they have fully, realized interiors that you can walk around in, and that's just like that's what makes this game for me, because to me, like, this game is like a spiritual successor to many of my favorite games from the early 2000s and even the late 90s. And in many cases literally is, such as like Wing Commander and Freelancer, which were Chris Robert games, as well as Aaron. And for anyone who doesn't know, Aaron Roberts and Chris Roberts are working together on Star Citizen and Squadron 42. They're really relatives. What was it, cousins, I think?
Don't ask questions.
I don't remember. Anyway, brothers. Anyway, so like, and because I know a lot of people, what the hell is the game? I'm blanking on it, but
Sir?
I don't know. Anyway, it's just the potential this game has, the potential it's already shown, and the fact that like, Cam, we've been following this game's development like with our nose to the to the window of the open development scene of it, and we're seeing it grow in front of us.
Times, but far more open than anything we're seeing on any other game, by and large.
Yeah, but my point is that we're seeing it, and we know, like, and because we're seeing it that close, we know, okay, they are totally capable of pulling this off. It's just a matter of time and technological limits and resources.
Yeah,
because
and by and large, they have said that at this point, it's not a matter of if, but when.
Right.
It might take longer than, they've already said it took us a lot longer on some of this stuff than we wanted to, but the fact that we see them still, and the fact too, especially with how many people go, server meshing, pipe dream never happened. Planet tech, pipe dream never happened. It happened. Oh, hey, being able to have more than, what did we originally have on servers? Like 25 people, I think?
Originally it was 24 for the EU servers, and remember that one, that Area 18 social build / shopping test build?
Yeah,
that was 48. So that was the limits then.
Having more than about 30 players won't happen. I still want way more than 50.
And remember, the original tests, the PTU tests for 3.0 involved 60 players.
Yep. So it's like, they're getting there. Slow, yes, but
so like
slow and steady, one leg in front of the other at a time. That's how you get to.
It's just it's essentially, and then here's the thing: is also they need to make the tools, like they need to literally build the tools from scratch that they need in order to build the game.
Yep.
And that's the thing is like,
make everything work together,
this isn't a AAA studio that has been making these types of games for decades, and they have a tried and true engine that they can just reuse assets and just kind of build off of. No, they have to make everything from scratch, and they don't have the resources or the experience doing this because no one's ever done something like this, not to this scale and this scope and depth. And what you end up with is, they have the budget of a AAA game, certainly, but time doesn't equal nor compensate for the lack of resources or experience or time.
But dude, bear in mind, again, they are building a game from essentially scratch. They started off with CryEngine, which has been heavily modified now. But bear in mind, so this is
essentially a new engine at this point. They called it STAR-Engine.
Linear FPS maps, and they're literally making a galaxy in it. Like, it's gonna take them a bit. And the fact, too, that, bear in mind, along with that, the fact that they are having a playable alpha, because they've said there's plenty of stuff, if they were just building the game, okay, that's one thing. But the fact that along the way, they have to try to put some amount of polish on these systems, because with some of the stuff, you'd be like, we're not going to go and put this polish on there until fucking 2 years down the line when X, Y, and Z other systems that plug into it are going to be available. What's the point as it is right now? Well, the fact that players are actively testing this and playing this, which that alone, I think they've said, it does put a very significant amount of additional stress and production time into what they're making, because they have to go and try to make it quasi balanced.
They got to make it playable. Just to simplify it.
Yeah, and so it's gonna take them a long time. And bear in mind too, when most people on top of that, so one, the fact that most people, as we pointed out before, most people have no idea how long it even takes to make a game. Because most of the time when you see the big trailer, the teaser trailer at E3, a year later, or 2 years later, 3 years later, you get the real trailer, and then another 1 or 2 years, maybe 3 or 4 goes past after that. I mean, you're talking at that point about 6 years. That's for your copy pasta kind of game. Now, some of them, like,
I would say it depends on the game. Like your Call of Duties, those can be beaten out in, I'd say, a year at two most. Just because
they already have all the tiles.
It's just a at really best, it's reskinned versions of the previous games. So.
Yeah. They add some different dialogue. They add, maybe they'll add 1 or 2 little things here and there, but by and large, same shit, different day. But. And again, we're talking, so at that, if you're literally just copy pasta, your game like Call of Duty kind of thing, you're talking about
look at old Halos, right? Halo, the original Halo trilogy, like Halo CE the CE we know wasn't made, didn't take a while to make, but I mean. I don't always believe that because the FPS version of Halo CE didn't take a while to make, but before, remember, it was an RTS, and then they were going to make it into a third-person shooter, and then it finally became a first-person. Remember, he was on the cover of Macworld in 1999. The game came out in 2001. Cyberpunk. We got 2012 was when we got the initial announcement. 2013 was when we got the first. Cinematic trailer, which was outsourced, the one with Bullets, the song Bullets, and they had the chick, the cyber psycho. Then we got the game, and then wasn't really until
it'll be
2018.
It's ready. Okay.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that's the thing, is if they stuck to their guns with that, or rather, if the executive, let me correct myself. If the executives didn't push for it to be released, and they all stuck to their gun, like the entire company as a whole stuck to their guns with it's ready when it's ready, like Star Citizen is doing, and Squadron, we would have gotten probably a really fun game. Like, yeah, it probably wouldn't have been as good as they hyped it up, because they were hyping the fuck out of it, and they were overselling it for sure. But it still would have been a better experience, and they also have to honestly, we said this when we covered the Cyberpunk expose earlier this year, when we learned, turns out the devs were saying, no, this game needs to be released at earliest 2022, and the execs are like, no, we need to push it out now. But I still hold by that Cyberpunk should have been, at least 2 to 3, releasing at least 2 to 3 years from now, at least, and it should have been only next gen, only PC, and Xbox One X, Xbox Series X and PS5.
And therein is the issue too, is that you have devs and they're like, I would say Cyberpunk by and large, it was what, 70% of the way there for
that's the thing is, let me put this, Cyberpunk,
you're this far. If the higher ups, whoever is pushing these timelines, if they had gone and just been like, all right, take the time you need, polish this shit out, make it good. But the thing is, they go, well, I want my money now. I want my return on investment now. And they're like, well, if it goes on this long, well, I'm only getting X amount instead of Y. I'm getting X theoretical amount instead of Y theoretical amount. I don't care if it tanks the company stocks. I want my money. That's what we're getting, because most game companies, and as we're seeing, Cyberpunk included, are being run not by gamers, not by anyone who cares about the product, but by people who are just like, here is my timeline, where's my money? And I'm not saying that companies should not be trying to make money. Of course they should. That's the entire point of a company, is that I am making some kind of a product or service.
But the thing is, you are providing a service in return for profit. However, if you are not providing an adequate service, you do not get paid for said service, and that's the problem. But we can go. Like, we'll talk about more. We'll definitely be going full in on this type of topic on Wednesday with Halo. But Star Citizen. So this year, like, just back to like, okay, year-end roundup and all that stuff. Definitely a great year for Star Citizen. I mean, like, I'm just looking at the little the cliff notes I have here for like the inside Star Citizen that they had, the year-end roundup, which is in the description for anyone that wants to watch it themselves. I had the footage already looped playing earlier. It's a good one. It just tells you everything that if you guys like us, we already knew, but it's just nice to have it all rounded up in a nice format. And it's nice to see Jared all excited. He's really good at that. But, obviously, like, in May we had Invictus and the Tank and the Scorpius release, and the Alien Week and Ninetales Lockdown, which was super fun. Then we had July with Crusader and Orison, improved HUD and the combat rework and stuff, ping and radar system, the Constellation Taurus. August was the Ship Showdown, where somehow the Argo MPUV-1C, aka the Argo Cargo, won because of a fucking joke. October was CitizenCon 2951 in a digital-only format, which I think was better. It was better in that it, like, in terms of how it turned out, but I also make the argument where I'd rather have a physical event because it allows people to actually go there and meet up. It, like, you know what I mean? Like, just the pros of a physical event are lost with a digital event. But it's kind of like pick and choose your battle, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there's pros and cons to both, but definitely pros for both that make both like a feasible option. Like, so I'm glad with the digital only format that went with this past year. We did a review of CitizenCon already, and it was great. We got first looks at the October. We also got first looks at the Banu Merchantman, Anvil Liberator, Origin 400i, which is already in game, and a crap ton of other stuff. Release of 315 with essentially Death of a Spaceman, steps towards Death of a Spaceman. Injury and medical gameplay, inventory systems, bombing mechanics, loot systems, loot crates. And obviously November we got the IAE, the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo 2951, which, I mean, it was just freaking last month. And it was fun, it was awesome. The performance kind of sucked and we complained a lot, but looking back just a month ago, it's like, yeah, it was fun. I got some good footage out of it, and and they introduced the cloud tech to microtech, and it looked great. Like, it looks like real clouds. I know it's such a weird and small thing, but that's the thing about Star Citizen. They get the small details right, and it adds up. Like sound design. Sound design is great in Star Citizen. And sound design's super important in a video game because audio cues are a thing. They exist in real life, They exist in games. And obviously December now, right, we're getting 316, probably in 4 days from now, which is including Gravlev rework, new hospital for Area 18, a redacted vehicle, probably a Gravlev bike, based on the image we saw earlier, and the Jumptown 2.0 event, which we talked about last week, and I'm still excited for it. Like, I want to get, we've been talking about how I want to, when 316 goes live, I want to just, when the event is not going on, I want to go to each of the areas where the event will happen, map out the entire area so that I can just go full into, okay, here's our battle plan. Because I miss being able to do that. It's been a while since I've been able to do that in Star Citizen. Jumptown's giving me kind of like that reason to do it again. That's always great. And obviously the Cutlass Steel is going to be in game with 316, which is pretty much just, it's the Cutlass Black on steroids. Which is a good thing, honestly. But Yeah, I mean, I think it was a very solid year for Star Citizen. Definitely, I mean, we've got some game changer style gameplay in Star Citizen. Again, Crusader, the first ever fully rendered and traversable gas giant in a video game. And I'm not just saying that because it sounds cool. Like I remember when Crusader first came out, I spent like an entire week trying to see if a full gas giant has ever been done in a video game before, and it has not. Not in to the scale that Star Citizen has done it. Like you can fly, like you want to fly around the gas giant, it might take you a few days.
You can do it,
but you can do it. You know, like, and that's the thing you do with all the planets. If I want to take my Cyclone and drive around the moon, right, one of the moons, or even like Hurston or Microtech, right, go around the world in 80 days or something in my Cyclone, I can. Hell, I've done it on Daymar with my Dragonfly. Way back in I think it was 3.1.
You bastard.
You were there. It's like that was like the fact that you can do that. Like, what's the purpose? Oh, there is no purpose, just for shits and giggles. But you can do it.
Can you?
Also, soloing this Idris was awesome.
Nope.
But definitely a good year for Star Citizen, and based on what we know is coming next year, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be pretty much, at the very least, on par with this year in terms of content and delivery. In terms of like quality gameplay, and obviously, hopefully they get rid of issues like this, where all of the Idris carcass is going to just despawn right after the explosion like that. But like that's a small thing, honestly. Like you blew it up. So I think Pyro coming next year with static server meshing and a lot of other back end tech. Like the game is actually being built in front of us, and like you compare Star Citizen now, like right now, as of this moment, December 20th, 2021, right? And you look at it from, you look at Star Citizen December 20th of 2016, or December 20th, let's say post 3.0, December 20th, 2018. Completely, it's like there's an actual game there now. And it's nowhere even close to, I want to say, like 1% finished. So,
yeah, so that's year in review.
But that's...
On that note, I actually got to run. So.
And I think that's going to be into the stream, yeah, because we kind of covered everything. That was pretty much our thoughts on...
Do the jingle!
The jingle! New thing. No,
Okay, but I actually got to run, so...
Alright, I'll catch you later. I'll do the outro stuff. Alright, so I got about 2 minutes before Discord decides to cut me off here, so, I want to say hello to Brightest Day in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, and Tillum29 for showing up. Thanks, guys. It means a lot. If you're catching this on the rerun, what did you think of Star Citizen in 2021? Like, what did Star Citizen in the year 2021, all the content that came out, the game itself, everything that happened, just what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section, because we actually read it whenever there are comments. Yeah, like, what did you think of Star Citizen this year? Like, you think that a lot of the content was good? Do you think they screwed stuff up? What do you think? Let us know in the comment section, and it'd be much appreciated. Also, if you want to help support the channel, you guys know the drill. Share the live stream. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Tell us why you didn't in the comment section. And subscribe if you haven't. And if you have, make sure you're still subscribed, because people have been getting unsubscribed. What else was there? Oh, if you want to help support the channel in a more personal manner, give me a sec here. We do have a merch store. which has to load. That's why I was saying give me a sec. Not loading. Oh, damn it. There we go. Oh, that loaded, and now it's loading again. Anyway, we have a merch store where we make merch. I'm now going to work on 3 different t-shirts. I have a What Can Possibly Go Wrong t-shirt to work on. I need to work on the Handwavium t-shirt. And, yeah, it's definitely, and a few others. So, got our Star Wars is Dead t-shirt, because let's be honest, it's the truth. Got our logo stuff on it. We got the handicap logo t-shirt. You know, crotch shot. Not a t-shirt. And again, we have a t-shirt that we have a Transformers themed t-shirt. If you guys want that, and you're in our Discord server, which links are in the description, for both the merch store, Discord, eBay store, etc. And just ping me in the Discord server. Hey, I want that Transformers t-shirt, and I will send you the link, because it's only it's unlisted, so you have to get the link in order to purchase it. But it's pretty cool, and I make all this shit from scratch because I'm a psychopath. But yeah, that's gonna be it for now. This was a rather short one compared to usual, but I'm not complaining. It's been a really, really long day, and it's only Monday, so yeah. But seriously, Star Citizen, man, I love talking about it. It's such a fun thing, and it's the dream game I've always wanted, and now I actually get to play it. Or I get to see it being built, test it myself, and then eventually play it. Because out of good conscience, I can't really say I'm playing it. I'm testing it, because it's not a game yet. It's just a project in development. But yeah, it's an incredible thing, and it's definitely going to be worth the journey, I feel. But yeah, again, what did you guys think of Star Citizen in 2021 and 2951? And I will see you guys. We will see you guys next Monday for episode 51, where we're going to be talking about 3.16 and Jumptown 2.0 and reviewing all of that. Or I will see you Wednesday for our Halo Infinite multiplayer video, where we're pretty much the entire live stream is just going to be I told you so, because we predicted all this shit over a year ago. Unfortunately. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys later. Good Cast in the Shadows, and remember to treat others. You want to be treated.